What is bias in MSA? What is bias in measurement system analysis? Hey there, I'm Arun Sharma. I'm founder of Submastery. Submastery is helping working professionals in getting aid in life and career through our online courses, certification, and membership. For more detail, you can visit www.submastery.com, submastery.com. If you look at this particular question, like what is bias in measurement system analysis? So bias is one type of error in MSA, there are different types of error, which is basically bias, linearity, and stability. These are accuracy error, and then we have stability error called gauge repeatability and reproducibility. So if you look at bias, what is bias? Bias is the difference in the average observed value with respect to the true value or the reference value. Now, what is this reference or true value? So reference or true value is basically the actual, which we can say the value or the measurement of that particular part, or it could be have that sample. So what we identify that we first establish a reference or true value, right? And that can be established with respect to the, like, it could be a standard gauge, it could be that can be determined by the higher level of accuracy of instrument in the laboratory. So you identify that what is the true value or the reference value of that particular part, okay, on which you are going to conduct the study. So what happened that you are then multiple time keeping the same operators, same part, same instrument, multiple time you take the readings, let's say 20-25 times, and then you take out the average. And as you take out the average, that is called average observed value. Yes, that is average observed value. So once you identify the average observed value, you then formalize bias equal to average observed value minus reference value, and that's how you get the error. Let's say your average observed value is 9.99 and the true value is 10 mm. Then 9.99 minus 10 mm will be your minus 0.01. So your minus 0.01 is basically your bias, is basically your error, right? And that's what you need to do, that whenever you do any measurement, you need to add that in the measurement. That means if actually the measurement is 10 mm, but your measuring instrument will measure that as 9.99 mm. So that means there is a error of minus 0.01, right? So that means whenever you do any measurement, you can add that particular, so that to counter the bias. In the similar way, if your average observed value is 10.01 and the actual reference value is 10 mm, and then bias will be your 10.01 minus 10 mm, which is the reference value, so bias will be plus 0.01 mm. That means that your measurement system has plus 0.01 bias with respect to 10 mm measurement, right? So whenever you do any measurement, you can detect that minus, can make it like minus 0.01. So bias is basically error. It can be both positive or negative at some particular reading, right? So bias is basically error. It is basically difference between the average observed value with respect to reference value. And if you look at your calibration report, they will mention the bias at different range, at different points. Like they will write what is the bias at 10 mm or 50 mm or 100 mm instrument, right? At different range, they will calculate that bias for you. So I hope you got clarity, right? What is bias? The relevance of bias is that you identify that if that error, what's the kind of error which is there in the measurement system, and how do you come to know that whether that error is acceptable or not. So you can look at if that bias has a significant impact on your measurement system, or that error is large, then you can straight away might reject the instrument or may not use that instrument, or else you can keep using that instrument by identifying the error, by mentioning the error. You can use that if instrument is very costly. In general, thumb rule is when your bias is significant you will not use the instrument. In general, a thumb rule is like that. If your bias or error is like does not fall in the is like equal to around 1/10 of the tolerance, you generally use that. That's a very like basic thumb rule, that when your bias is 1/10 of your tolerance, okay, then you probably can use that measuring instrument, right? That's a general thumb rule. Okay, so I hope you got my clarity. So if you need more detail, go to www.submatch.com, and I'm Arun Sharma, and do hit this like this podcast wherever you're listening, and share this with your friends. Thank you very much. We'll see you in another episode.